The Bean Counter to Boss podcast is powered by XBert. XBert is the AI data and workflow management kit for bookkeepers and accountants, keeping your data clean and boosting productivity. Automate manual bookkeeping checks and streamline your entire workflow. XBert is your trusty sidekick, tirelessly checking the data for errors and helping you manage workflow easily. Process, visibility, and data quality control in one AI-driven system. If you're interested in trying XBert for free, visit our website at www.xbert.io, where you can start a 2-week free trial.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Bean Counter to Boss with the illustrious Amy Hancock and James Goulsborough and myself, Will Rush. So episode 3, today we're talking about the setup, building the foundations of your accounting practice. So when you decide to take the leap, like we spoke about last week, and go it alone, what is the setup? How can you build those foundations? Well, we'll talk about legal structures, partnerships, limited companies, sole trader. We'll talk about niching. We'll talk about attracting clients. And we'll talk about maybe some brand building and getting your brand out there to make sure you're attracting those ideal clients. Cool. I think we should just jump straight into it, right?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
So how did you guys set up your business? What was the structure there? Because I know obviously you've had different journeys or different routes into going it alone and setting up your own accounting practice. So there was some nuances there, but what was the thought process? How did you set it up? Where did you think to go first? We'll go with Amy. You can go first.
So mine was started as a sole trader. So I think I said before in a previous episode that it started with friends that were told they had to become limited companies in the construction industry, trying to avoid IR35. And I started doing tax returns for them. So I started as a sole trader with my practicing certificate. And that worked out okay because I wasn't earning that much money. Then in 2017, I got engaged. Go me. And I went, hang on a minute, typical accountant me. Went, let's go limited. So I went limited because I got fed up of paying the tax on the sole trade income as well as being employed. I'm not sure I was a higher rate taxpayer at that point, but I was heading that way. So I created a limited company before I got married and called it Hancock and Hastings. My maiden name is Hastings. My married name is Hancock. So I wanted to keep my maiden name in there and gave my husband to be some shares initially. And then, we've stayed as a limited company. The share structure has changed slightly. When I started, it was 50-50. However, I made the mistake of not reading the ACCA handbook. So I'd recommend everyone read their handbook, whether ACCA, ICAW, because when you're an audit practitioner, you can't give a non-accountant more than 4.99% of the shares. So my audit qualification got taken away and I had to redo it in 2022, which I did. And now my husband, Gary, who will feature probably in every episode now because we've been talking about it in a bit, he now owns
We're on a breakout series with Gary.
Yeah, breakout series. First Gary. He now owns 4% of our company. And I'm 96%, which works out quite well. You know, dividends, salary structure. So, and he has a majority salary. So started as a sole trader, went into a limited company when I knew I was going to get married, get some, back then the dividend allowance was much better. So we got quite a chunk of our sole trade income under dividends when we turned limited. So started as sole trader. Never thought about the partnership route. I'm personally just not a fan of partnerships. I find it a bit more complicated. I don't know about anyone else on a compliance side. So it was sole trader to start with. And then obviously when we started to build more money, get more money, went for the limited company to take the benefits of tax efficiency at that point.
It's just me thinking out loud though here. Could it not have been set up like the audit business as a separate business, a separate limited company, and have it as a group structure? And then
spin off.
Ooh, potentially. I'm about simplicity.
Yeah.
We're going on Company's House later. New company,
makes
new
sense.
structure, share for
Yeah,
share
there's
exchange
gonna be-
going
it's-
on.
Yeah, I mean, many people do it. Many people do the accountancy practice and audit practice separate. I used to work at a firm that had, well, I know we're going to talk about niching, but had like the main practice and then had a medical practice that just dealt with doctors, and that was an LLP. So there is the possibility of separating out, and some people have said that. I just wanted to keep it simple
Yeah,
for
fair enough.
me, and I think because it is, I am a sole practitioner, basically. My husband's not a qualified accountant, so I just have the one. It all goes into one pot, and I know what I'm getting. Even though me and James did talk about setting up another company between the two of us yesterday, maybe that's for a future episode, going into something else. All these ideas, but now just the one practice certificate, and yeah, just keeping it simple.
Nice. And James, your route was a little bit different, I think, wasn't it? You kind of went
Yeah,
into
yeah.
parts.
Yeah. So James obviously had his. I was working. Well, I say working under him. It's kind of how it was when I was doing my training. Obviously, I couldn't have clients of my own, so I was at the firm. I was training it, and then I say helping James with the small practice that he had, because he was also a group accountant for Walters Kluwer. So he was, and then he was doing that through his practice. So obviously, then when I qualified and we decided to do it together. That then meant he could avoid IR35, because obviously I could cover him if he was ever ill. But so we went straight into limited company, and then built up basically the business that way. Obviously, James had the far bigger client base than me, although I went into the practice practically full time before James. As I say, like, because he was 4 days of the week with Walters Kluwer. So it was more, James's client base was kind of bankrolling the practice, and I then was able to go into it. And actually, we, as part of us going into firm check a couple of weeks ago, we did a review of where the client base is now and who's looking after what, and I've managed to flip it. So now I have 2/3 of the practice of client base, and James has a third, which is quite, I didn't realise it, which is quite an interesting journey. But we did it for, limited company straight from the start, because we can maximise the tax efficiency better. We obviously had our own other companies as well, which meant if we wanted to utilise our other halves, we could, move the profits out of the practice in different ways, in different vehicles. So yeah, there is that advantage to it, and doing it that way, being a bit savvy. I think that if you're going to start it and you're not sure where you are, I think Amy's route, being a sole trader to begin with, is the better option. Because we all know, you come limited company, it's all the compliance costs. And if you become bigger, you can always roll it into limited company with the goodwill, as goodwill. So there's lots of options.
Yeah. Is there anything either of you would have done differently?
It would have been the shareholding, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Everyone just think that's not an audit. You did your practicing certificate and you did your whole experience on there, and then you have to do another one for audit, and then you had to do the audit one again. So that was pain. So definitely, I mean, when I did the whole shareholding, we were going into like COVID and stuff, and it was just, let's just do this off a whim. So definitely sleep on decisions. Don't jump in.
Yeah, exactly.
And talk to other people. I mean, at that time that I decided to go alone, I'd studied in the ACCA with a lady who had gone on her own, and she's always had been on my case to go on my own. I can do it by myself. I was like, no, it's fine. I want the security. I want all that kind of stuff. So she had done it, and she'd started as a sole trader. So I think maybe that was in my head. But initially it was get the practicing certificate, start helping people, and everything is in your name on the practicing certificate. So it's just easy to just get started and go and grab some insurance and get going. I never did audit until I went on my own in 2023. That adds another complexity to it, but I'm glad I've got it. So grab your practicing certificates and audit qualifications just in case, because you never know what might happen.
And read the legislation.
Yeah, legislation. Yeah, it's interesting. But equally, as I think we've alluded before, I think when we did it on, we were talking about Fab, weren't we, with Aaron? We sort of said to get the practice certificate anyway, even if you weren't to be by yourself, because it enables you to push on in the practice you're at. You know, get to that point where you're able to progress your career. So I get it. Some people don't, but I would always recommend to do it early doors. Then it's in place, and like you say, if circumstances change, you've got the certificate to go out and go on your own. For me, obviously, if I was to do things differently, I don't know whether I'd do it by myself. I don't know. There's always been that. It's not fear. It's just that to have that another person around me, and I've been very lucky to have James as a sounding board. Obviously, James was my accountant long time ago before even I became an accountant, and obviously, in a couple of years' time, he's going to retire. So I've got to make a decision on what I want to do, and that made me sort of think that should I have just done it by myself to begin with?
But you've had a shorter accountancy career.
Yeah.
So then say like me and a lot of others, not saying I'm like ancient, but you know, so actually having James as your comfort blanket and the opportunity there that worked for you at the time. And some people might need that, you know, we're all training in practices, quite a lot of us, or in industry. If you've got someone that wants to go with you, you've got that soundboard. I'm quite fortunate to have met you because you're my soundboard.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like, so it's I'm very much the person that if somebody's doing, I'll go and do it, and I would just knock it down a brick wall if I have to go and do it. It's quite funny, which I've always been like that when it comes to work. When it comes to home life, my wife would tell me it's very different. I would just wait until I get shouted at and he has to get on and do it. But James is that cautious type, and it's a good thing to have that balance. Whereas I'm very much like, let's just get it done. Let's get out of the way. James sometimes goes, home, let's have a bit more steady approach.
Pragmatic. The word that I choose.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll use that word. Yeah. I often rib him for being too old. Just saying it's a snail, you know. But it works. But like I said, sorry.
You're a bit of a late in life accountant, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm was it 2020? I qualified. I literally qualified the week I sat that final exam the week before the lockdown, and got my results in COVID, and it's been one hell of a journey since then, if I'm honest, because of what exposure I've had, and you sort of sit and sometimes it is a pinch me moment, but also it's a very humbling sort of thing where you go, do you know what, you can't take it for granted.
No, but also you put the graft in, right? You put the effort in.
Yeah, and I think that's why I kind of want to showcase it more. It's achievable. It's not, but I also appreciate that it's also, I was very lucky. I was very lucky to have the support from my employers at the time, who were amazing. I was able to have James there to do the extra bit that we were doing and give that extra bit of support. But equally, like Lisa, my wife, to absorb everything that was going on at home whilst I studied, worked 2 jobs.
Yeah, but sometimes in life you need that little bit of luck, right? Always.
Yeah. And I think I agree, and I think and then you try. I'm very much a big believer. You make most of what you've got, and like you say, it's going back to like you're saying about the structure. Even if you were in a partnership or you were in a sole trade situation, it can easily be changed for the better.
Yeah, definitely. And I touched on it in the introduction, but kind of niching is quite a hot topic, I think, in the accounting space at the moment, right? And choosing it, whether to choose a niche or whether to be generalist, whether to go after everything. I think, Amy, you kind of not a niche so much, but with the audit side of things, it's it's a bit of a specialism, right? And there's not that many firms that are your sort of size that are auditors. That generally, when you think about auditors, you think about like the top 50, top 100 firms, right? When you think talking about that sort of thing. So, what kind of led you to make that decision? And is that kind of your niche, I suppose?
Yeah, I think when you start your practice or any business, there's the niching comes up, and I thought it's always struck me that it's industry based. do I need to be in tech? Do I need to be in construction? Oh, but I like a bit. And I kind of was like, I don't want to niche because I like all industries. And then gradually absorbing other people talking. It's like, hang on a minute, it doesn't need to be industry based or like specialisms as such. So the audit thing, I love audit. It's just, I just see the value in it. And I know a lot of people don't. And it's kind of my personal mission to make sure people do see the value in it. James does see the value in it as an accountant, which, he's helping me to try and navigate getting audit more out there. So I suppose it's kind of evolved. So I never started going, do you know what? I'm going to niche in audit. I love compliance. I love sitting there doing a set of accounts or a bank reconciliation of an evening. It's what I love to do. So I want it to be this general practice that does a little bit of everything. I've trained in firms where I managed to do a bit of everything, and I quite like the variety of the service and the clients. So I was very anti-niching, but I suppose you're right. I've kind of gone into this audit niche, but there's two prongs to the practice. There's the general compliance side and the audit side. But also I was listening to a podcast, the Six-Figure Bookkeepers, actually. And one of the ladies on there said, you can niche by people that you don't want. So once you get an idea in your head of what your ideal client is, niche into that.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Ooh, that's strong, because people panic going, oh, do I want to be just tech companies? Do I want to be just subcontractors? And you go into this kind of panic mode. Just figure out what you don't want. And then you're niching that way.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying with that. And I kind of can see having been on our journeys now and kind of sort of that. I think we're very guilty when we start things off, and we've always said this, is you kind of take anything and everything, just because you're that bit worried about where, you've made this jump, you've made this journey, and you sort of go, I have to have everything. So by actually sort of saying no to certain things, certain people, businesses, that you are, I guess it isn't really, you are niching a bit, aren't you? It's like, I didn't think that, I saw this as a service. We do a lot of business valuations. We do a lot of, well, not as much now, but we R&D and stuff like that. But that is kind of a little bit, that is a niching in a per se. I just saw it as a service that we're providing. But actually that is something that sets me away from other practices that we do that sort of thing. I think you pointed that out to me a couple of months ago, or was it a while back? You sort of said that, and you called me out on it. And I was like, oh, didn't see it like that. It's interesting. But isn't to think that you can select the clients you want, that you are niching in a way.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting that you didn't realise that you kind of niched in those bits. And I suppose I realised because I don't like doing those bits. So if you start with what you like doing, as well as the people you like working with, you can go down that route rather than the kind of standard industry. I'm still saying yes to everyone. I haven't quite figured out saying the no. I need to have a little checklist with me in my head. But it's not a decision that you need to make straight away.
No,
some people have got it nailed, haven't they? Some people have got it like, I'm only going to work with influencers. That is, that, and I'm going to account for that. I met a guy at Accountex who does escape rooms.
Yeah, I had a good chat with him as well. Yeah, and that's niching, and that's because he came from having his own escape room years ago, and he realised they needed more support, needed more help. So he went off away. He went and got all his qualifications with ICB, and fair play. Do you know what? He's now providing something out there that possibly and a more personal experience for those people who have those businesses, because he felt there was just that gap that accountancy firms and other bookkeepers weren't able to provide them. You say that's a really good thing. And the ones going back to being the influencers, they obviously find those people engaging, fascinating. They understand that journey, hopefully in some shape or form. So they're able to give that optimal advice rather than just being the once a year type of stuff. It's things change. They might get an endorsement. How do they treat that? How do they maximize taking that and taking out the profits efficiently? So it works in a way, doesn't it? You have to. Yeah, I think everyone's got a position and where to sit themselves.
I think if you're passionate about something as well, right? I know, like you're a keen sportsman, James. So for you, like the sports,
I try to
industry
be.
would something that-
I make it out. Yeah.
I didn't say you were good. I just said you're keen.
Yeah. It's all about
Everyone
the effort.
loves a trier.
Exactly.
exactly.
I'm that one. Yeah. Little, I'm very well. Yeah, and then I start losing, then it's all that toys out the pram situation.
But I think if you've got an interest in something, there's always going to be that passion behind it, right? And that shines through in anything that you do.
But yeah, absolutely. And obviously, having a coaching background business, I've actually got a few clients that are coaching companies, they're sports coaching companies. Exactly what I did 14 years ago, and it's quite interesting that and I'm although the educational side's changed so much when I was working in schools, the way they're operating the business hasn't changed at all, and I'm able to give a bit more advice on not just the accountancy side and tax, but more the operational and structure that they might want to implement in order to scale.
Yeah. Nice. And is there any advice that you'd give anyone around sort of niching specifically? Do people need to, and like I think you've said it already, but do people need to make that decision straight away, or do you reckon it's better to just kind of work out what's good for you and what's working for you, and then fall into a niche potentially, rather than kind of going after it straight away?
I definitely think that you don't want to be just plucking your finger, just going, I'm going to go and work with those people. I guess you need to have a bit of research, a bit of understanding how it works, in order to go and particularly work with that particular part, that I would say that sector or that industry, rather than fancy, I can see people doing it online, I'm really going to do it myself, and I'm just going to copy them, because you end up being jack of all trades, master of none, which is you've got to be very careful of.
Yep. I
think that if you're passionate about something and you've been doing it just with someone else, and this is you starting your practice and you feel like you can do it better, stick with that. But do your research if you're really going to niche down straight away. I think the majority of people start out as general, and we kind of fall into that. Like hashtag Audit Amy was not born when the practice was born. It's developed.
Boom.
I'm surprised you haven't shown off your neon sign yet during this episode so far.
No, I haven't had time to scrap. I'm in too many accounts and tax returns.
Need to get Gary to put it on the wall.
Yeah. Can't go.
No, I'm better at DIY.
Yeah. I don't know why. I can imagine that as well.
I'm trying to say.
I'm trying to say that about me and Gary are kindred spirits, because I'm rubbish at DIY as well.
I know. I'm with you on that. I drill a hole, out comes a crater.
Yeah.
In all fairness, he did put the Lego up on the wall. He's got specific to stands. I think we need a kind of episode of showing off our homes and our offices
through the keyhole. Being counted the boss through the keyhole.
Of being counted the boss, and showing what everything that we're talking about, because the neon sign that I've just bought will be featuring at some point.
To be fair, the GTA office is probably one of the prettiest accounting offices I've ever been to.
Yeah, love that. Actually, we are very lucky, I have to admit, even if it is like going out in the sticks.
Yeah, it is very, very nice. It is very nice. I think so. The kind of niching side of things, I think, leads on to the final thing that we wanted to kind of chat about on this episode, and that's like building a brand and building yourself as a business and a brand around that side of things. I think maybe potentially it's a little bit easier to do that if you do niche, because then you've got something to really focus on, right? You can focus on that niche area. But how did you guys go about sort of building up your brand and getting what to what your ideal client was, and identifying that and going after that? What was the sort of structure there? How did you do that?
So obviously my business is my name, my maiden name, and my married name. Probably a bit long. The email address is amy@hancockandhastings.co.uk. Can't even use the and sign. So it's very long. So the brand, the name of your business, think about that. Definitely sleep on that. ask a few opinions, because I did go Hastings and Hancock or Hancock and Hastings. And they were like, "Mm." I had this kind of vision of Christmas Carol when they've got the golden plaque on the door, and what a kind of solicitor's accountants look like, because I wanted to be a traditional accountant, and I know I'm definitely not now. So yeah, think about that. So the brand was coming from the name, got the logo done. I actually did my own website, and to this day I do my own website. I use GoDaddy. I just did it off the cuff because everyone said get your website before you go and incorporate your name, because otherwise it's going to cost you so much more money when you've incorporated into a limited company and then you go and get the domain. So I just created like a bog standard, and it's changed a lot and pictures have changed, but I'm still in charge of that website and all our socials. I have tried to kind of outsource a little bit, get some of these companies to do our branding page in like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, but it's never been in my language. So the socials do take a long time, but I think that kind of adds to the brand image of the business, is that they're talking to you on the phone, the same language is being used in your social media posts. Nowadays, ChatGPT is my best friend because
Never used it. Never used it.
No, clearly from your socials.
It's the only person
kind of
James talks to.
My only friend.
What's your ChatGPT called? And I'll be going off.
Ton. Don't know why it's called itself that.
Mine's Elliot. Mine's Elliot.
Why have you got a name?
Elliot. He knows like the way, and I say to him, remember, this is how I like it written, and then use it for next time. So gradually over time, I got some help in doing my posts, but it's still the way I would word it. So that was on the business side. Now, personal branding. Struggled with this to start with. I didn't use LinkedIn until I started on my own. We all got told to have a LinkedIn profile, but we never did anything with it. Sometimes repost, whatnot. And obviously Facebook and Instagram was just for personal stuff. I didn't really want to plaster my kids all over socials to try and get new clients. So I started with looking at my personal LinkedIn. I looked at a few people that do LinkedIn training, started following them, doing what they said about banners and bios and whatnot. And they've changed every couple of months as I think, oh, that doesn't look right. That doesn't sound right. And then I was using LinkedIn a lot. And then I found actually I kind of want to go into the other social media platforms. So I've got a Facebook, got an Instagram. So under Amy Hancock FCCA. And then I've started to, in the last year, talk more about myself. Loads of selfies. Sorry, guys.
I know, it's horrific.
You know what I look like. But that's where I talk more about audit.
You know this goes on YouTube as well, right? So they do know what you look like, Amy. Don't worry.
Do I need to say that the Diet Coke is not, the other brands are available?
Yeah, we're not sponsored by
just
Diet Coke. So
yeah, we're not sponsored by Diet Coke.
We sponsor, but we're not sponsored by Quick.
I know. I'll hide the Beavertown pint glass out the way then.
No, we can definitely get sponsored.
In this. Oh my God. One day I'm just going to come and I'm just going to have a wall of swag behind me.
I'm going to put my golf clubs behind me as well so we can get sponsored by Mizuno or something so I can get a new
Yes. Then we can do a live one on the golf course, Will.
Yes.
Oh, no. I'll be here with my QuickBooks swag all behind me. #gifted. So yeah, when the personal branding started, I was a little bit like, people need to be saying, experts in these personal branding, share your story. And I really struggled because I don't really have a story. I decided at 18, well, I decided way before I was 18, but decided at 18 I was going to be an accountant in a practice, went into a practice, started my training, the traditional route into accountancy. So I didn't really
I don't
have a
think that is the
backstory.
traditional route, though. I don't think that is the traditional route. I don't think there's many people that actually decide they want to be an accountant. I think most
I
people
know.
kind of fall
That's where some, yeah,
into
I
it.
was told, like,
I mean, I only became an accountant because I decided I needed to use my brain, right? Because I couldn't use my body.
so mine was age 9. And I have
9.
put this in age 9. Once you go through school, you'll know that everything follows you. There's some paperwork that follows you through. So at 16, when we had general studies, where most people didn't go because it was first thing Friday morning, so they were hungover. But I went. I was a good schoolgirl. I love school. And one of the last assemblies or general studies class was they brought out what had followed you through the school, and they read out for me, Amy Hastings, what does she want to be when she's older? A dancer on Top of the Pops or an accountant? I actually wrote that.
Still hope for dancing then.
I've forgotten it. But I suppose that is, you're right, that is my story. But at the time starting this personal branding journey, I was like, I don't have much substance to me in the accountancy world. But gradually I've just gone, do you know what? I'm just going to tell people what I'm doing, what I'm about. And it makes you so much more human. And actually on the personal branding side, I'd say that's got me in front of accountants for the audit side.
Yeah, definitely.
So the business pages are for my general compliance clients, and my personal branding is for other accountants and bookkeepers.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've channeled that a bit more. So the business page, my administrator Natalie helps me with, and Elliot, my chat GPT. My personal one is me. Just might not be interesting. It might be interesting. There'll definitely be a selfie involved. So prepare yourself if you look at me. Oh, I've got a photographer in to take my selfies now. I can't use my camera very well. I'm not very good at it.
It's not a selfie then,
It's not a selfie, is it? That's unless they're stood next to you, like down below, just the camera above them, like just clicking the button. And then that kind of does look like a selfie.
I ran out of selfies. I don't actually own a selfie stick. I was talking about this the other day. Do they still exist? I don't really see them.
Last time I used them was in New York 12 years ago.
When they're taking pictures with horses and things. That's the only time I see the selfie sticks.
Funny story about a selfie stick from my couple of days in Glasgow. I was walking down a street in Glasgow, and there was a couple taking a picture leaning against a nice BMW with Glasgow City in the background with a selfie stick. And then all of a sudden this woman walks out and goes, Can I help you? And it was her car that they were taking again. I found it. And they were like,
do you want me to take that for you?
Your car?
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, can you get off it?
Oh, blimey.
Oh, God, the embarrassment.
But it is also that
BMW in. No BMW, thanks. I'm an Audi girl.
Yeah, I've got an Audi.
Next LinkedIn post, personal branding, cars. There you go.
I'm a Volvo.
James, you've gone through a rebrand, haven't you? Fairly recently.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah. So it's quite interesting. Obviously, our registered company name is Garrett Adam Accountants, and that was when we did it together. James and I, we wanted something that related to us, but was not directly obvious. So Garrett is James's middle name, Adam's my middle name, but when we went first did it, got the logo design, wanted something slick, just simple, and it worked. And then obviously we looked to buy the other practice, and then didn't do it, and we engineered the deal, and a partner came on board. We were then looking at how we could combine like the name of that practice as well, without it being too obvious. And being a big fan of GTA when I was younger, it was decided that we'll go with GTA rather than GAT, because they just sounded crap. and that, but that's generally that's generally what it was. It's like, that doesn't work, and it was like, actually GTA could work. But then that got my head and James's head thinking that, we always wanted to rebrand at some point. Yes, it came forward a bit quicker or sooner than we realised, but also it meant that should we ever want to exit the practice, we could actually just sell the brand and the client base with it and keep the business, and a way of extracting the monies out in a different way, rather than selling the whole business as part of it. You sell the brand and essentially the client base with it. So that's why we decided to do that, and then try and develop the brand that way. And obviously, yes, you've seen this. So people have seen the socials. It is very much at the moment animated, and that's because there's a reason behind it. That have a shelf life, obviously, and that's been driven by myself more so recently, because the partner that's now gone was overseeing marketing, which wasn't, in my eyes, very good. I'm not going to hold any punches back. And we were using another we're outsourcing the marketing to someone else, and then when I spoke to them, I didn't realize how restricted they were being by this partner. So it was like, okay, what can you do for us? And yes, and I'll be honest, she's done a great job. So it's not, I kind of have the ideas, but she's turning it into actions. And equally, I have my own Instagram page, and I'm trying to build on the business at the moment. And at some point, I'll probably flip it to be me personally. But at the moment, I'm trying to drive the company brand to begin with. Hence why you're seeing the animated images. And equally, on LinkedIn, I've been more prominent, much to my wife's disgust, when she goes on and just seems to get the notifications of me commenting on everyone's posts. But equally, I'll just try to be me, a bit of sense of humour, a bit of, not taking myself seriously. And that's kind of how it's rubbed off of the clients as well. We have, yes, business is business. I'm serious. I can be serious. I can know how to do stuff, but equally there is that tone of cheekiness about me where I would just, and I think it rubbing off, I know when I have to be serious. I know when I can then be tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
At LinkedIn, I go on, I see so many things, and it's smoke and mirrors. I just think, I could have too much fun here. And yes, I could probably trip myself up one day.
I'll be waiting for that, waiting to comment.
Well, it's interesting. The other day, we've got a local networking group in art where I live, and a few of them are clients, and they were talking about referral schemes, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I've got, we do this, forgetting that I hadn't mentioned it to them. I completely forgot, so I kind of tripped myself up. Had to backtrack, But it's like, oh yeah, I was going to, but we haven't done anything since we rebranded, sort of thing. It's like, but yeah, so it says, I get it. I know, obviously, I don't want to be seen as the fool in the industry, but I'm also very much one that will be tongue in cheek, and I'm quite happy at the moment because it gives me entertainment.
That's nice. I like that, and it is about being authentic, right? You don't want to. It's very difficult to fake forever. You might be able to fake it for a little while, but it's very difficult to keep that veneer up for a long time. But it's much easier to
Absolutely.
just be authentic than you, right?
I get obviously, yeah. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I totally get that, and I'm not worried about that. But I'll never do. I'm never malicious. I would never do anything to upset anyone. But if I see an opportunity to be tongue in cheek, I'm going to go for it, and I will do, and I can continue doing that because that's just me. And my friends will say exactly the same. That's just who I am.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. I think that's a pretty good episode, guys. I'm happy with it. Hopefully there's some nuggets of gold in there for the listeners. Anything you wanted to close on? Anything you wanted to add?
I think what I said earlier, sleep on decisions. But things can change in terms of how you are operating and niching. And as far as the branding side of things, again, things can change. Hang out where your clients are hanging out. That's what they say. And yeah, don't take it all too seriously. You've got to enjoy it. We're all doing this because we want better for ourselves, but we want to enjoy it along the way.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Couldn't put any better.
Perfect. You do have some knowledge in there somewhere, Amy. It's good. It's nice.
Yeah, no, yeah. He's not.
What were we
I've had
saying
a
about
Diet Coke
what
on
we saying about
it.
tongue cheek? You set me up for that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is this going to be the next snippet that goes on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
one
that's
of
it.
those.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Another tagline right there.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Always. Thanks, guys.
No worries.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bean Counter to Boss podcast. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you could leave us a review, like, subscribe, that would be incredible, as it really does help to get the word out there for our little podcast. Hopefully see you again in a couple of weeks' time for the next episode.